Good morning. I've switched equipments and I'm assuming it should be working fine. So no doubt I'll hear from you if you can't hear me. And in the absence of any consternation, I'll assume that you can. All right. Another day, another Dharma. It's nice to be home after 5 or 6 days in Paris. Not sure if you can hear the frogs, but they're in good voice over there. I used to have a mic I used in here last year that was much more omnidirectional, and so the frogs would intrude quite loudly sometimes. And now I'm just using this little lavalier mic, and I think it's much more precise, and therefore, like, do you hear them? Therefore, I'm not sure how much you can hear them or not. But if you hear some strange croaking, it's the frogs. If you don't, doesn't matter. But they're going for it here. All right, you can still hear them. All right, good, nice. So, yesterday I mentioned that it's Buddha's birthday this week, sort of. I mean, Wesak is the full moon of May, is on Thursday night, and that's I'm basically going to just reference that all week in different ways. And I thought one of the ways I might do that is just sort of considering the lead up to that night. So the long lead up, sort of 6 years lead up, I'll speak about a little bit today. And then the day before, I'll speak about tomorrow. And then the night of awakening, we'll speak about on Thursday. And then on Friday, I'll have been meditating all night for Wesak. I'm with a whole group of people here at the Moulin. And if you're nearby and you want to come and sit all night with us, please feel free. You can come for supper, and then you can hang out through the evening, and then we'll have some time together, and I'll give some teachings, and it'll all be in French. I said, will it be in French? Actually, I'm not sure which language we'll do it in. And then we'll walk around the land here, and it's a very beautiful time. And you know what's interesting? And this might lead into what I was going to say this morning. What's interesting about sitting all night is that a lot of people think they can't do it. I think it would be awful, it would be boring or painful, or just that the sleepiness would become unbearable in some way. And so it just seems like a kind of completely unrealistic thing to do. And then the tendency is to see anyone who can do it or would do it as either just sort of foolish, or maybe as so deeply, powerfully spiritual in a way that I could never aspire to. And we've done this many, many times, right? Must be about 30 times now, over the last 30 years, pretty much every year. Except the last couple of years, because my health was compromised after COVID, I actually didn't feel like it was a good thing to do for me the last 2 or 3 years. And so we've had a gap. And this year, because my health has returned and I'm more robust, I feel able to do it again. So what's interesting is you sit, and then people sit and they start to, doubt arises. Oh my God, it's only midnight. How am I going to make it till 6? And basically I ring the bell every hour. Dong, just at the top of the hour, dong, 1 o'clock. And then often when I ring the bell, that's the time people might move, stretch their legs, go outside and walk up and down a little bit under the moonlight, and then come back, etc. And then dong, 2 o'clock. It's still a very long way till the morning at 2 o'clock, it can feel for people. But they know that at 3 o'clock, there'll be chai, right? So we have some tea is made for 3 o'clock. So, 3 o'clock, chai, that's nice. And the chai just about gives you the energy to get through till 4 o'clock. Then you hear the bell 4 o'clock, and it's the deep part of the night, and it's cold, and etc., etc. And, but you've got until 4 o'clock. You sit there and you sit there, and your meditation is probably very low quality. Characterized by sleepiness and discomfort and maybe some doubt. But that's exactly what the Buddha went through as well on his night of awakening, which I'll talk about later in the week. And then, and the 5 o'clock bell goes. It's like, maybe people are very, very tired, but it's only 1 hour till 6 o'clock. And like that, the night passes. And what I've noticed, and it's very beautiful to see, is when people end up, they just sat all night. And they get to 6 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning. And it brings a lot of confidence to their practice. And confidence, oh yeah, I can actually bear with. This term kanti, which you've heard me speak about before probably, which is usually translated as patient endurance, right? But it's actually a combination of sort of steadiness and spaciousness and sort of non-dramatization, not making much of the doubts you might go through, and gentleness, And so that sense of committing to something and not wavering. And it doesn't mean you don't waver internally. You might have all kinds of internal wavering, and you just you stay steady through the wavering. And that's the single greatest benefit, I would say, of this all-night practice that we do, is that it inspires people with a confidence that they can bear with. And that's a beautiful thing. So in the lead up, I'll tell a little bit of that story one day this week. But maybe many of you are familiar with the story of the Buddha's life and the story of his practice and the story of him leaving home aged 29 and kind of in this sort of fit, really, of existential angst and doubt and restlessness, and going off to the forest, going to sit with the sadhus, the renunciates, the forest dwellers, learning various meditation practices and practicing hard. And I remember when in my early 20s, maybe sort of early on in my practice, where practicing hard seemed like a good thing to do. Practice hard, the sense of being dedicated. But that's not kanti. That's not patient endurance, because there wasn't any patience in it. Practicing hard, there was, kind of trying to drive myself through practice, and it turns out it doesn't really work. It's not very kind. It's not very gentle. It's not very efficacious, But it does give oneself a sense of purpose, and and whether that's meditation or Dharma practice, or whether it's anything else in life. And we get a lot of cultural validation for driving ourselves through things. That kind of hyping ourselves up. That sense, yeah, you got this, you can do it. And often that's a confidence built on nothing other than ego. You got this, you can do it. Come on, I can. You can. It's like the American dream on steroids. Everyone can be the president of the USA. You're gonna knock it out the park. All that kind of hyperbolic, steroidal confidence. Steroidal confidence, chest out confidence. That's not real confidence. It's actually a very brittle kind of confidence. Real confidence is kanti. It's quiet, it's deep, patient, doesn't have anything to prove, doesn't need to show anything. And it took the Buddha a long time to learn that lesson, 6 years. That doesn't mean that those 6 years of practice were futile. No, not at all. He learned a lot of kind of profound absorption meditations from his two teachers, Brahmaramaputra and Dalai Lama. And but he just had the sense that there was something that didn't fit. And those two teachers both wanted him to kind of take on their lineage, etc. But he felt like it's not complete. And he didn't yet know what wasn't complete, right? but he just had some sense. He could tell there was something wrong without being able to see what it was. And I bet that's a familiar experience to many of us. I know something's not right, but I'm so in it that I can't see what it is. And often, when we feel some sense of agitation or friction, it's because we're driving ourselves along in some way, driving ourselves through our life, driving ourselves through a relationship, driving ourselves through work, driving ourselves through our practice. And because we sense there's something wrong, and because we sense that it's uncomfortable to face what's wrong, it's as if we believe that if I just keep driving myself, I won't have to face the uncomfort of what's wrong. But in doing so, we just keep it going. We keep the agitation going, we keep the friction going, we keep the sense of there being something wrong going. So, I wonder if any of that rings a bell to you about the tendency to drive ourselves through. And if it speaks to you also in terms of that sense of the possibility of something gentler, quieter. What if we were not looking for our confidence in doing, in driving, in achieving, in showing? Because that's where the world suggests that confidence comes from. But as I say, it's a very brittle confidence. What if we were more looking for our confidence in a kind of quieter, deeper way? You know that line in Siddhartha, the wonderful novel by Hermann Hesse, where Siddhartha comes out of the forest after many years and goes to try and get a job in the town. And the merchant with whom he asks for a job, the merchant asks him for his CV, basically. He says, well, what's your skill set? What can you do? And Siddhartha says, I can fast, I can sit, and I can wait. That was one of the most moving things I've ever read. I was 19 or 20 probably in Dharamsala, India, reading that book. And then having dropped out of education and any idea of a career and not gone to university like all my friends did, and just gone off to India, and that's what I was doing. I was learning how to sit and learning how to do nothing, basically. I mean, in a genuine, profound way, as much as I could, trying to learn the genuine art of doing nothing, of being quiet, of being non-reactive, of being receptive. And so when I heard that, here's Siddhartha turning up for a job, and kind of with real confidence and clarity, being able to say, not with a lot of ego, I can sit, I can fast. It's like, what can you do? But it's, well, I can sit, I can fast, I can wait. And actually, to be able to recognize those and offer those as genuine skills. Beautiful. That's what we're here for, friends. For the spectacular art of non-doing. Which of course doesn't mean we don't do anything. It means that the feeling is one of depth and quietude, which allows us to actually, really see and feel what's going on. And then actually really find an authentic response, a wisdom response, a loving response, a non-reactive response to what's going on. A response that isn't about showing, right, or proving or pushing. And yes, he did get the job, Lizzie, and I would highly recommend the book. It's one of the all-time classics, certainly of the 20th century. It's not very long. Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. All right, friends, take your seat for meditation together. Just taking a moment to really orientate into meditation. Letting your attention kind of gather and settle and soak into the feel of sitting here. Setting up the few elements of posture. What really are helpful. Firstly, the sense of stability. Like kind of feeling the heavy sensations in the lower body as the legs and buttocks rest down into the floor or the seat or the cushion. Stable posture. Steady awareness. Feeling the uprightness of your posture, maybe just lengthening your spine a little if you need to. A sense of creating some space between your vertebrae. Long neck, long spine. And then just relaxing a little as if each vertebrae is really just resting one upon the one below, upon the one below. Upright posture. Bright awareness. And then next, just that sense of openness in your posture. You might want to roll your shoulders back a little, feel the space that comes into your chest. Open posture. Receptive awareness. And then finally, the sense of ease, softness, relaxation in your posture. Letting all the muscles in your face just soften and come to rest. And just scanning down with that same sense of softening through your shoulders and arms and hands. Down through your chest and torso. Down deep into your belly. Down into the lowest place where you can feel the gentle movement of the swelling in-breath and the softening out-breath. And like this, then entering into a sense of sitting right here, just where you are, just how you are. Not trying to drive your meditation anywhere. Not trying to push for anything. You're already here. Your consciousness is right here. Your breath is right here. The whole world of your experience is right here. So relax. Relax into your belly. Relax into your breath. You're learning the art of being here, not through pushing, not through trying, not through reaching for anything or resisting anything. Rather through resting. Resting into a natural sense of presence, the recognition that we're already here. Resting into a breath that's already revealing itself. Resting into that gentle confidence. It's okay to be here. Resting into the inherently wakeful nature of mind. Luminous. Receptive. Awake. Resting into this quality of Kanti, gentle, patient, and willingness to bear with, to sit through the flickerings of habitual thought, uncomfortable sensation, momentary restlessness or boredom or doubt or dullness. Being unconcerned about the quality of our meditation, the quality of experience, and rather just orientating to the sincerity of your practice. The willingness to bear with, to open to rest into what's happening. And into the space around what's happening. Feeling for that balance between not pushing, not trying, not efforting, not driving your meditation, and yet not switching off, not spacing out, not going dull. Rather resting into the vibrancy of this moment, the aliveness that's just there, and the tingling of your cells, the dance of sensation, the tide of the breathing coming in and out, and the symphony of the soundscape. The luminosity of mind. These last few minutes of the sitting, I'm just checking now what your attitude is, whether there's any leaning towards the idea of the bell ringing, any driving forward, any pushing back against what's happening, and just seeing for these last 3 minutes or so if it's possible to surrender your agenda, to stop reaching or resisting, and to genuinely open up to whatever's present, to as if becoming transparent to all that comes and goes. Dissolving any friction with the way things are. May we all be free from pushing. May we develop that quality of khanti, capacity to gently bear with, respond to. And may we all know that true confidence, with nothing to prove, and confidence in our capacity to meet whatever arises. And confidence that knows our essential freeness of being. Nice to sit with you. Nice to sit with the rain on the roof and the frog chorus. There's a little time for questions. So if there are things that are alive in your practice, things connected to the theme of the day maybe, but not necessarily, anything that feels like it might be helpful to give a little air to explore in various ways, then feel free. Okay, hi Laura. Oh yes, and Vanya. And so before I get into the questions, just a very quick mention. Oh, Dana! Just the reminder, all this is offered freely, free of commitment, free of charge. And yet, as I often say, it's not free of cost. There's many, many costs associated. And those costs are met totally because of, and sometimes precariously through, your offering, your support. So there's that sense, we do all this because we want to support you the best we can. Then we say to you, please support us the best you can. Welcome back, George, who's been absent. through. I'm not sure, because you were moving house, George, or because you've been unwell a little, maybe, or both. I'm not sure. Anyway, nice that you're here. And George is very good at putting in the Dana link at exactly the right moment. Look at that. You see, there it is. So that's the way you can support Sangha Live and support me. And thank you very much in advance for your kindness and generosity. You know, so that sense of, you know, supporting me, teaching this week, supporting Sangha Live, but also supporting each other, right? It's like that's what allows us to be here for each other. All right. Questions. Laura says, do you have a point of view about stimulants with meditation? I don't usually drink coffee before I sit, but today I did, and I noticed my heart and my wakefulness more clearly, which I appreciated. I was relaxed, but there was an alertness, which may have been due to the caffeine in part. Is it better to be in a non-caffeinated state to practice more truthfully? Laura, I also had a coffee before meditation today. Yeah, I don't have a view. I think if one's not used to coffee, and you had a coffee right before meditation, then you would probably find it dysregulating in some way. Or if you had 3 coffees before meditating, you'd probably find it dysregulating. But hey, whatever works. Whatever works. So, you know, we're constantly, I think we can get a little tight around our views around what constitutes an intoxicant or a stimulant or an addictive substance, etc., etc. The question isn't, is something addictive, or does something change our consciousness in some way? Everything changes our consciousness in some way. Everything does. You know, if I look here, it changes my if I look here, it changes my consciousness. The question is it harmful or helpful? That's all we need to know. Is it harmful or helpful? So, this morning, it seems like drinking coffee was helpful. Good. Would it have been helpful to drink 3 coffees? Probably not. Etc. Is it helpful to drink coffee every time one feels a little bit dull and to completely rely on that? Probably not. So my point of view is to discern around things being harmful or helpful. In the Buddhist language, it would be wholesome or unwholesome. You know, rather than some idea of whether they're theoretically right or wrong, good or bad, etc., which I don't think is so helpful. Voila. How are we going? Vanya, just as you were saying we were coming to the end, I was already feeling restless, checking the time, the pull to move on with my day. Yes, definitely pushing. I wish I didn't do that. It seems to be a habit I haven't been able to sit with without acting on it. I'd love to grow through this. Yeah. How? Without forcing or pushing that. By recognizing it, Vanya, right? Just like you did. It's like, that's how you grow. It's not through, you can't just switch it off. But let it be, oh, that's my practice. I know I push. So when I see that pushing, let me, because what tends to be is like, I don't want to do that. And then when I see it, I judge it. I think, oh, no, I shouldn't be pushing. Oh, Martin said don't push, but then I was pushing, you know. But rather just to feel, what's it like? So you really get familiar with it, the way we sort of leaning forward. Where, like, here's a question about that. Where do you get tense when you're pushing? Is it in your forehead? Are you pushing there? Is it in your shoulders? Are you pushing there? Is it in your jaw? Is it in your chest? Right? Like just, you know, subtly, those are the subtle sensations that go with the pushing. And then when you get the sense of the sensations, you might further just still track it. It's like, oh, what am I really trying to do? And maybe it's something like, oh, I'm trying to get to some place where things are easy, or to get to some place where I feel okay, or something. Oh. And then you can still inquire, where does that come from? It's, you know, you probably have a lifelong habit, right, of pushing in some way. And I don't just mean you, Vanya, I mean you, like everyone, us. So rather than don't get fixated on stopping the pushing in any kind of definitive way, but rather be interested in, when you notice the pushing, oh, how can you engage, sense, feel, recognize, explore, and then in the moment then, how can you, just soften it. So it's that thing of short moments many times. Don't worry about trying to eradicate it. You don't need to eradicate anything, but rather just meeting it, sensing it, and softening it in the moment, and then tasting the relief from that pushing. Even if it's just momentary for 2 seconds, and then the push comes back. Okay, when it comes back, you notice, I'm going to drop it. You know, that's actually, ironically, the most effective way to practice is the kind of humblest or simplest way to practice. I'm not trying to get impressive results. I'm just, meeting it, being familiar with it, kind of being gentle with it, relaxing it. Okay. Thank you, Vanya. Anne says, how much do you think your practice of gently bearing with impacted your recovery from long COVID? Massively, Anne. It was the whole approach to my recovery from long COVID. It's all I did. I just tried to rest as much as I could. And just, sometimes I can't rest. So if I can't rest, when I have to do something, I try and do it gently. And then when I've finished it, rest. And, resting sounds good, but it's not always easy to rest, It's not easy to rest because there are some imperatives. Not easy to rest because the nervous system can feel jangled. That feature of being tired and yet wired. Not easy to rest because sleep disruption was one of the features of my long COVID thing. But however much people suggested various approaches and treatments and supplements and everything else, and sometimes people gave me those things and I just took them, but my own feeling and my own approach all the way through was rest, rest. It's like giving my nervous system the opportunity as much as possible to kind of just to somehow do whatever it needed to do and take however long it needed to take to realign in some way. And I just felt intuitively all the way through that was the right thing to do. And and a friend actually who is a sort of worldwide specialist in chronic fatigue said a helpful thing to me right at the beginning, which was just to have the intention. You won't manage every day, but to have the intention that every day you're trying to put more in the tank than you take out. And so then if you've done this, and it's like, okay, rest is best. Rest is best. That's certainly my sense all the way through. It still took me, it was in waves, like it probably is for you, right? Some waves of feeling better, and then some periods of feeling less good and all, and then some periods of learning exactly where the line is, or more or less where the line is for overdoing it, which sometimes it's like very, very low, that bar of what it takes before I've overdone it, etc. But learning the art of resting. And part of resting, it's not just about inactivity, it's very much about an inner quality of gentleness. Because a lot of us, we have kind of weird views about rest, like that I shouldn't be resting, or that I should only rest the minimum before I get back to work, or that I should be productive, or that others are going to judge me, and all that bullshit isn't helpful at all. So that's just Mara's yapping. So I feel like I got very good at resting. And I definitely used to feel, it's been a long time now, but I definitely used to feel uneasy or guilty about resting. My family situation was one when I was growing up that was very intolerant of resting and had very strong ideas about laziness. And my father would come in like at early in the morning and pull the quilt off, pull the duvet off of me, even at the weekends, very early in the morning, and like make me get up and do something. And so for a long time, resting felt like some kind of shameful sort of thing, and I think that's probably different for different people maybe, but I think for a lot of people that's one of the strongest impediments to actual rest, which I say not just inactivity but gentle, nurturing, surrendered, kind of like rest. There's some sense that I shouldn't really be doing it, or that I shouldn't need to do it, Okay, I'll rest because I have to, but I shouldn't really need to rest. And I still, I try to take a little nap after lunch pretty much every day. I was teaching in Paris this weekend, and at the lunchtime, I go and have some lunch, and I come back in the Dharma hall and just lie down on my cushion, have a little rest. Yeah, delightful. And I can see that it's sometimes just telling people I'm just going to take rest, and sometimes people have some view that you must be lazy, or you must be sick, or you must be there's something wrong with you, or maybe they just think I'm getting to be some kind of old man, which is which is true. Anyway, I'm going on and on about rest, but it's because it's a beautiful thing. To learn the art of rest is one of the greatest things we can do for ourselves, certainly for our nervous systems. Because we're overstimulated so much of the time. We're stimulated and often overstimulated. And so just a little to lie down and feel that stimulation in the nervous system and give yourself enough time for it to subside a little. Oh, it's very resetting. Okay. Ruth says, I would love to hear more about confidence. I love that it comes from the Latin root confidere, to trust. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I think the main thing is to see confidence as coming from the lower belly, not from the chest. I call that Wall Street confidence. It's that kind of brash, dare I say, American style confidence. It's the confidence of dear old or the awful Mr. Trump, right? He's the epitome of brittle, chest pumped confidence. And you can feel how thin-skinned it is, how brittle it is, how false it is, right? It's a confidence that seems very assured, and yet you can see underneath it's masking all kinds of insecurities. All right, how are we doing for time? Kevin says, and yet stimulants cloud the mind. Do they? Not necessarily. Depends what kind. I haven't found coffee to be clouding of the mind at all. Right? So it depends. Again, is it helpful or is it harmful? If there's some kind of stimulant that is clouding your mind, clouding the judgment, clouding your discernment, then yes, that would be a whole other thing. And then Eva Lloyd says, I recently needed to go on a low dose of antidepressants, and I've used them once before and found it affected my meditation. And this time I'm having the same issue. Feels like my brain can't settle like it usually can. I know it's temporary, but I miss my non-antidepressant meditation practice and find it less effective. Yeah, I've heard that from others as well, that the kind of the dampening effect of antidepressants means that one's experience feels less available in meditation. So I feel for you in that. And what I would say is, in your practice, don't look for clarity so much. While you need to take the antidepressants, and hey, if you need to stabilize your situation in that way, that's a blessing to be able to do that. But don't expect the same kind of clarity, because you won't get it. Right? The effect of the antidepressants will be that, and so don't look for it and don't expect it. But so what can you look for if you're not looking for clarity in your meditation? Look for gentleness, look for tenderness, look for forgiveness, look for the capacity to bear with the fact that right now it's like this. Right? That's the kanti. Definitely, it can be a wonderful quality that you can keep looking for. In this condition where your emotional life feels a little dampened, or your brain, or you feel like you can't settle like you can usually. Yeah. All right, the rain is getting louder, so I don't know how well you can hear me, but it's started to rain quite hard. Anyway, we're at the top of the hour. If you didn't get your question answered and it's still alive for you, like Tara, I see, has another question, and maybe there are others I haven't been able to look down the whole way, please feel free to copy it and just paste it in again tomorrow, and I'll be happy to answer them. And I'll look at the rest of the comments now and questions as we close. So thank you, friends. May you go gently through the day, and look out. Look out for the pushing that so easily happens, and see how you might just ease off a little. All right. Thank you. See you tomorrow.